Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is a what's for dinner, and I got a little bit of everything. So I got a sheet pan meal, a crock pot meal, breakfast for dinner, and then my family's go-to. So I hope you enjoy it. If you do, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sheila. I'm a married mama of 3. I typically do cleaning and organizing videos, so this is a little bit different. But if you like stuff like that, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So we're gonna jump on into my family's go-to meal, their absolute favorite, especially my husband. It's meatloaf. So as you can see, I have the ingredients popped up here on the screen, and you also have another one with instructions, so you can go ahead and screenshot that. And I'll have that with all of the meals in here just to make it simple if you wanna do it for your family. So I'm going to start off by chopping up my onion, and then I am going to saute it. This is something that I used to never do, but when I would cook the meatloaf, the onions wouldn't get soft enough, and my husband wasn't a fan, so he had suggested to do it this way, and it works great. It is an extra step, but it only takes a few minutes, and while they're sauteing, I can go ahead and mix up everything else into the bowl. And you'll see that I don't really measure anything out, I just eyeball it. I did put approximate measurements in the ingredients list that I had before this, but you can adjust it to your taste. So now I'm just going to separate the meat in half and shape it into 2 loaf shapes. You could just make one big loaf, but I found that doing it with 2 small ones, it cuts down the time from about an hour to about 30 minutes. And my husband loves the end pieces, and this way he gets 4 end pieces instead of just 2. So it works out great. And then this is the mixture that I put on top. Again, you can adjust these to your likings. I did put a little bit too much brown sugar in it this time. It was a little too sweet, but that's fine. I don't mind the sweetness. And then I'm just gonna put it on top of the meatloaves and then bake them at 425 for about 30 minutes. I do broil mine at the very end for like a minute or 2 just to get the sauce on the top a little bit bubbly, and it's perfect. So here's the final product. It doesn't look pretty, but I promise you it's absolutely delicious. And I just made instant mashed potatoes. I took the easy way out and then canned corn with it. So next up is the pork chop sheet pan meal, and this meal I think is my new favorite. I made it twice this week that I filmed the video, and it's just absolutely delicious. I do this in stages. I know with a typical sheet pan meal, you'll just put it all on the sheet pan and then bake it. But I found with the potatoes, if I put the potatoes in first for about 20 minutes and then add the green beans for another 10 minutes, and then I add the pork chops for an additional 10 to 15 minutes, just because they are thin pork chops. And I don't want to overcook anything, but I also want to make sure that the potatoes and the green beans are cooked fully, if that makes any sense at all. So now I'm just seasoning the potatoes, and I season everything, like the green beans, the pork chop, and the potatoes, with the same seasonings: the garlic, salt, onion powder, Old Bay, and the Italian seasonings, just to keep the flavors the same throughout the whole dish. And now I'm seasoning up the green beans, and I did want to mention that you could totally use fresh green beans and it would probably be more delicious, but I only had frozen on hand, so that's what I'm using. And then now I'm mixing the pork chop mixture into a gallon baggie so I can shake the pork chops in it. It's just the breadcrumbs, the ranch seasoning, and then the Parmesan cheese. So now I'm going to layer the pork chops with a very thin layer of mayo and then season them on both sides. And I know that mayo probably sounds a little bit strange, but I promise you, you can't taste it, and it really keeps the pork chops moist. I hate that word, but I don't know what other word to use for it. They're definitely not dry pork chops, and because they're so thin, they would tend to dry out faster. And then I'm going to put them into that bag with the basically like shake and bake mixture, and then put it in the fridge until I'm ready to add them to the sheet pan. So as you can see, I'm just adding the pork chops directly on top of the green beans and potatoes. I think it gives it a little bit extra flavor. And then I'm gonna bake it for another 10 to 15 minutes or until they're golden brown. And then your dinner is ready. And the cleanup is so easy with a sheet pan meal. So the next meal that I'm going to be sharing with you guys is sausage gravy over toast with a side of country ham. And this meal has always been a favorite of mine. Even as a little kid, when my mom would make it, I just remember loving it. It's super easy to make, and it can feed a lot of people. Okay, so all you want to do is brown the sausage, drain it if you need to, and then add the flour directly to the sausage and mix it up. Next, you add in your milk slowly, and you want to make sure you're stirring it constantly once you add your milk in, just so it doesn't burn to the bottom. And then once it starts to thicken is when I add in the Worcestershire sauce. This is totally optional. It just depends on your taste. I only do this now because one of my friends had made me sausage gravy and brought it to work for me the next morning when I was pregnant with Dalton, and it was absolutely delicious. And this is the only thing I think she did different. So ever since then, I've been adding it in, and I love it. So this next meal is a crock pot meal that I tried for the first time when I filmed this, and it's super easy and pretty delicious. There is a couple things that I would change, but I'll explain that in a minute. But I'm going to start off by spraying my crock pot with cooking oil just to make sure the chicken doesn't stick, and then adding the chicken in. I used chicken thighs. The recipe that I saw called for chicken breast, but I didn't have any, so I used what I had. I think next time I would definitely use chicken breast, so I think it would be better with it. But then my next step is the stuffing. So I'm going to mix the melted butter and the water and then the stuffing and let that sit for a minute so it can soak up all of the juices. And then I'm going to add in the cream of chicken soup. And I use 2 cans, but I think 1 can would be better because it wouldn't be as soupy. So that's another thing that I would change. And then on top of that, you just add in the stuffing and cook it on high for 3 hours or low for 6 hours, and you're good to go. With mine, I did instant mashed potatoes again, took the easy way out, and then I did some sauteed green beans and gravy. right, guys, so that does it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit different from my channel, but I thought I would just mix it up a little bit. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you make any of these meals for your family, I would love for you to tag me over on Instagram. It's at simplysheila88, and go ahead and give me a follow while you're at it. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video on Friday.